Hello, in this video I'll show you how you can track victory points and money using the app. I know part of the fun of a board game is the tactile feel of handling the components, but if you're playing online, especially money and doing, trading money back and forth can be really annoying with a keyboard and mouse. So this is a feature intended primarily to be used for online gaming. And with that in mind, I'm shooting this video using a laptop and keyboard and mouse as opposed to a phone. And I will also include at the end a demonstration of how it all integrates with the Shared Game Timer's Chrome extension. But more on that later. Right now, keep in mind that this is an opt-in feature. So if you don't want to use it, you can hide all of these things. So let's have a look at how you create a new game. So if you go to the game creation page, let's say we're going to start a new game, Monopoly, no, Mono. On the game creation page, on the game setup, you can activate an opt-in for this feature using this button here, VP and money transactions. Underneath that, you have a second option to allow or not allow transactions between players. If you turn this off, it's going to simplify the user interface a little bit, hiding a selection where you can choose who you want to trade with. But then you're always going to be trading with the bank. I'll talk more about this here in a little bit, but just remember this switch. So let's go back to our test game. With this feature on, each timer tile has two more buttons at the bottom here, showing how much victory point and money each player has. And if you want to change that, you click the button, which opens up a dialog. The color of the dialog shows what player it is that we're interacting with. And let's go through it top to bottom. At the very top, it says here, trade with the bank. You can choose to trade with another player. And it'll say here how many victory points that player has at the top. So this is the thing that is going to be missing if you had turned off the feature of having transactions in between players, which simplifies this user interface a little bit. So let's stick with the bank. So if I want to take 5 victory points, all I have to do is just put in the number 5 and then hit this button that says take 5 victory points from the bank. I click enter or click the button and I got 5 more victory points. If I want to lose victory points instead, I put in -5, for example. And if I have a negative number up here, then this button will say give 5 victory points to the bank. This reverse button here, all that does is that it's going to flip the sign. So it goes from +5 to -5 and back to +5. So if you started typing in a number and then you realize that you were supposed to take, not lose 5 victory points, just hit this button. One neat feature is that instead of putting in a simple number, you can put in a mathematical formula. So say you're playing a game like Arkwright, and on your turn you are selling 4 shirts. Each shirt is worth $12, but then you have to pay a maintenance fee for each worker, and you have 6 workers, and each worker costs you 3. And then at the end, you have an end round bonus of 10. That's a lot of math to do in your head. And now you don't have to. The Shared Game Time is going to do it for you. So here on the button, it's going to tell you what the end result is. The end result is that you are going to be taking 40 victory points from the bank. If I hit enter here, and we go into the log, which I haven't talked about yet, but down here you have view the bank log. I'll talk more about this here in a second, but I want to point out that the formula that you put in is saved alongside with the transaction so that you or another player can double check your thinking. So if you were not, for example, meant to take 12 victory points per shirt, but actually it was supposed to be 10, they can see that. So instead of just having a big number like 40 where you don't know what's in that number, you can see the mathematical formula. So this is really useful. If someone makes a mistake, you can click this button at the bottom left here, show deleted, which will show and allow you to delete transactions. So you have the little trash can icons here. All I have to do is click it. It turns red, which means it's deleted. I can undo a deletion by clicking the trash icon again. And deleted deleted transactions, when by default, show up as a little thin red line. So it will tell you and other players that something was deleted here. And if they want to see what it is, they just activate the show deleted button at the bottom left. So let's talk a little bit more about this log. It is divided, you can see here, by the different turns. So you can see that on Gustav's first turn, he made 2 transactions, and then Don made 1 transaction on his turn. And then during Raphael's turn, we've had these transactions. These ones, the Raphael's transactions here are interplayer transactions. So you can see that first Raphael gave, there's a little present here, and an arrow, showing that Raphael gave 6 coins to Don. And then immediately after that, Raphael took 2 victory points from Don. You can see that the arrow goes in the other direction, and there's a little bandit's mask here showing that Raphael took something from Don. This little red thing here, on the right hand side, you see the total, the running total. And if it's red, it means that that player has dropped down to a negative amount. Often that's something that is cause for concern. So here it says that Raphael has a negative amount of coins at this point. Let's close that. 2 more things to mention. At the very bottom, you have a sneak preview of the log. These are the latest 8 transactions that have been made. And you can hover over them to see the mathematical formula if one. So there's 1, 2 plus 7 equals 9. Also, if you go in on, if you open up this dialog on a screen that is small, say for example a phone. Oh, I'm going to hide OBS. Then it will look like this. It will look full screen, and you'll get this handy little keypad. So if you're on a phone and you want to put in a number quickly, you can use this keypad as opposed to using the on-screen keyboard, which often isn't quite suitable for putting in mathematical formulas. It's hard to get to the multiplication symbol or the division and so on. All right, so that's it for this feature. Left to show is how it all integrates with the Chrome overlay extension for Chrome. So if you haven't seen it before and you play games online using a browser, I definitely recommend checking out the Chrome extension. So a full tutorial for how to activate it and install it and use it is on this page here. But in this video, I just want to show you how this banking bit integrates with it. So you can see here that on here at the bottom, we have a running list of transactions, the last 5. We have the totals, the running totals for each player. And then we have here a little form input where you can add and remove all transactions. So I can say I want to add money or victory points. I can decide to trade with the bank or one of the other players. And this dropdown is not there if you disallowed interplayer transactions. You have the input field, and like before, you can take simple numbers and it can take formulas as well. The button will tell you if you're gaining or losing money or victory point, depending on what's clicked up here. So to submit this transaction, you can click the button. Or quicker is to just hit enter. You can also hit shift enter, which is going to submit the transaction and also minimize the form. There are some neat keyboard shortcuts that you can use. So if you press Alt M, M for money, it's going to open the transaction window and pre-select money. If you do Alt V, it's going to open up the form input and pre-select the victory points. So let me show you how quickly it is. Say that I'm going to add 3 victory points. All I have to do is press Alt V, put in 3, shift enter, and it closes it. So it's really much faster to do this than using your mouse and keyboard to like move a token over here and then maybe putting in a 5 VP token and then taking 2 back and 3 and just doing exchanges. This is a lot faster. You can also, there's 2 more keyboard shortcuts. You can show and hide the log by doing Alt-L. And if you have a lot of players, you might want to hide all of the opponents' scores. You can do that with Alt-O, O for opponents. It's going to hide all of the total scores for all of the other opponents, but you can always see your own. All of these keyboard shortcuts are customizable using the normal way that you can do that for extensions. So if you didn't know that, you go up to the icon up here, right-click it, click Manage Extensions. In the hamburger menu in the top left, you go down to Keyboard Shortcuts. So here are all of the shortcuts for all of your Chrome extensions, including the Shared Game Timer overlay. And here they are. And you can reassign them if you want by clicking the little pen. And then say, for example, I want to have starting the transaction for victory points. I don't want V. I want Alt-P for points. Just put in the new keyboard shortcut and it's reassigned. I'm going to put it back to Alt-V. And that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. There is a thought in my head that I might add another feature where you can customize the different tokens that you have that you can transact in. So maybe you want to have sheep and wood and so on. If you want that feature, let me know. You can always contact me on at meeple@sharedgametimer.com. And with that, thank you so much for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed your next board game.